Hello, peeps. Welcome to Heart Talks. You can see I've got Judith Kusel with me again. I am so excited. She barely got home from her trip from France, and I'm like, Judith, we're all waiting. You got to get on here, and you're gracious enough. I know you're just so busy right now, and thank you so much. And I want to thank you from everybody in the Northern Hemisphere now who are probably feeling all the things that you have done up there. Thank you so much. And I want to thank you, Judith, because when I'm with you, I feel a wholeness just deep into the ancientness of who I am. And it is just a vibration that you bring alive in me because we're connecting at that level. And I do so appreciate that too. So for our new viewers, I have so many new friends now who might be seeing you for the first time. Could you tell them just briefly who you are and why you went to France just recently?
All right, my name is Judith Kusel, and I come from South Africa. And a few years ago, I was actually brought to start writing down the unrecorded history of the world as I was starting to tap into the energy fields of Africa. And then I started writing down, what was given to me. But some of it was such high technology that I had no clue what I was writing about. But it was a journey of trust. And in that, I was connecting to the crystal pyramid temples that were of yore, that were in the very first Garden of Eden, which was called Elysium. Now, and that is what my book that will be published in the next few months, hopefully, Why I Was Born in Africa, the Untold and Unrecorded History of Elysium and the Lion Kingdom. Because they are all connected, because Elysium was the first civilization and then the Lion Kingdom came up. And as I was working on this, I had to open up the energy fields of the world again. It is not the crystalline grid as we know it, it's the pyramid crystalline grid. And it consisted of crystal pyramid temples that were it's very high technology, but they were all interconnected. And at that time, when Elysium, the first civilization was, there was just one supercontinent. So it was one continent, and there were no other continents, just one continent. And from this has come a total shift in my life, because all of this happened in very dark nights of the soul. And it brought me on this whole complete journey of transformation, and also a journey of reconnecting to my own soul and to who I really was in truth before I was incarnated on earth. And with that has come my soul readings, which I do for people all over the globe, and they're really impacting on people's lives in an amazing way. I'm just a transmitter, I'm just the instrument that is bringing this back to earth. And I always ask that I'll be used in the highest possible service for the divine. But what a journey it's been. And then when I've done the energy work that I've finished now in the Southern Hemisphere, it was just amazing how everything came together. And I would work with the spinal column of the earth, and which is the lightning rod of the earth, because it's a great transmitter channel. It's how we cosmically tune in via the planet cosmically. And when I did the energy clearing work, I connected to these amazing pyramids in Antarctica. And I had to open up amazing portals there. And as the help came in, and I had help from America too, when I got light workers involved, and you were helping me with your work that you were putting out, and it was just amazing, because as we opened up those portals, all this old muck, the old history, the stuckness of the planet got released. And all these souls that got stuck, and all that was done before, that actually plunged us into that from the seventh dimension in which we were to the third, that was released. And as it was released, the angels came and they just picked us all up, and it was transmuted into the purest God Force energy again. Now, with doing that work, I was in Cape Town in July, because I had to apply for my visa to go to France. I was just told go to France, and I said, well, okay, I'm going to do in France, but I knew it connected to the work that I already done, and I'd done it up to Malta, the island of Malta. And then I knew I had to go north, but I didn't specifically know where to go to north. And then they said France. I said, well, okay, when do we do France? And they said, yeah, you've got to do 7 seminars in France, 7. So I said, well, you know what? I've never done 7 seminars. I've done it in Mauritius in October last year, but I have never done that, in such a vast scale. And they said, no, 7, and the souls that need to be there will be there. So it was a matter of trust. So I put it out there, and sure enough, in the end, I had my 7 seminars, and I had exactly the amount of people that they said would be there, were there. So it was just amazing. But as I actually was in Cape Town, they just say to me, well, book into this hotel. So I book into the hotel, and as I looked out of the window, I had the most amazing view of Table Mountain I've ever had. And as I sat in my chair, I suddenly had to do energy work. And with that, I opened the energy lines to France. And then I knew, okay, this was my step to go to France. That was my journey from there.
Wow. Okay. So, you are a master at being guided and taking guidance. That is for sure. And it is something that I think we're all striving for, is to bring ourselves within our own guidance and do what we're being called to do. And thank God I did, because I've got Heart Talks now. And you, thank you very much. Tell me about tell me about the people that you met over there, the ones that came to your seminars.
Okay, they were just amazing souls, because I had 28 souls from 11 different countries. And it was so amazing, because the whole time as I worked with the energy of France, I was working with the ancient mystery schools as well, because I was told that France was the womb of the goddess, especially the southern France where the Pyrenees mountains are. Now, Pyrenees means pyramids. The original pyramids are still in the Pyrenees. It's just that we can't access them at the moment. Well, most people can't access them because they are in the 7th dimensional state. And I was also told that because I spent many lifetimes in France, and we all have been prepared for this moment in time for many lifetimes, and so many of us are souls that have volunteered to be here at this time. We were actually like prepared for this time, and everything that's happened in our lives is there now to bring this into operation. We have to bring this. We are the shift that is moving the shift, if you understand what I mean. And I was told that these souls had all been together in France at a certain period in time, and that we pledged that we would come together again when this shift is happening. And so I was just told, trust. So I trusted that whoever needed to be there would be there. And sure enough, it was like we were a soul family meeting each other again. It's like we knew each other from yore, and we now were reunited. And what is so beautiful is because the minute that I stepped off a plane in France, I was clearing energies, and I was activating portals, and I was activating sun discs, and I was reconnecting the earth to the 7th central sun, which is a sun of illumination, and bringing in the fires of illumination, which is because we are now going into the illumined state, the higher state of being, the 7th state, the 7th dimensional state. We're going 5th and 7th, which is amazing. It's amazing in that these fires of illumination were shown to me in a vision, which I shared with my students. And that is, before I came to France, I was actually shown this beautiful city. It was a spiraling city. And it had, on the top of a spiral was this huge temple that was built there. And out of this temple came this massive green and gold fire. And then I was shown, because the dome on this building was open at the top. And then it sort of like came, and there was this massive altar. And on this altar stood this flame, and it looked like the torch of the Olympic flame. That is what it looked like. But it was green and gold. Then I saw how the high priests and high priestesses were sort of chanting and walking in a chant. And with that, they were holding the fires of illumination steady for the planet at that time. And then I was told this was the city of the goddess of Olympia. And I thought to myself, who's Olympia? And then I remembered the Olympic Games, but I went back and I read on the Greek mythology, and I said, they always said that the Greek gods came from the city or the place of Olympia. Wow. And then I realized that this was all interconnected in a sense that way. But these cities, these ancient cities, these ancient abodes are actually starting to get reignited again, so that we can move with that energy and we can come into those fires of illumination now. And so my seminars were literally to weave together everything and to also bring people to open their heart centers again, so that we can open up our heart centers. Men and women, we need to connect at a deeper way now, which is the heart opening. Because when the heart is open, we can co-create now. And then when the heart-mind is in balance, then we can step into our role as co-creators again. Wow. And it was so beautiful because I knew that we had to go to Montsegur, because as I was opening up the energy centers in France, because I started in Paris, and in Paris I was, before I even went to France, I was drawing in exactly where I needed to go, because I always draw in the energy fields before I even get to a place. So that when I am there, I just follow my map, because I already have read the energy fields as they should be. And I had the most amazing experiences, because, France at that stage, when I got to it in August, was overcrowded because all the tourists were there. So for the first time, I was challenged in that I had to do energy work with crowds of people around me. But, they orchestrated it so that I could actually do the energy fields in the middle of people.
Wow.
And we were at Versailles, where I knew Versailles was a center that needed to be open. And it's so interesting if you think of history, where it all came from, that Louis the 14th, was it Louis? Yeah, I can't remember. It was not the revolutionary one. No, 2 generations before Louis I think it was the 12th. Yeah, he called himself a Sun King. The Sun King. And Versailles was supposed to be the palace of the sun, the central sun, whatever it is. And little did they know of what they were building Versailles on, which is quite amazing. Uh-huh. But I was reading, that those energy fields at a different level, what it was like in the 7th dimension. And Paris itself, where Paris is, was actually a huge island within an inland sea. It was in an inland sea type of thing. Right. And these first places were actually put in place long before, of course, this dimension came. It was part of Avalon. And so I sat in the gardens of Versailles, and I did this clearing work, and I did the energy work there with thousands of people milling around me. It was just amazing. I'd never done that ever before. Wow. But as I was doing, and I saw the energy lines open up, it was just a shift in that whole energy. It was amazing.
Could you tell if people around you were being affected by it? Were they Were they just so into their vacation they really weren't aware, or were you collecting a crowd around you?
No, at all. What they do is they put invisible shields around me, so I'm literally invisible, and they keep people away from that places. It was amazing because there's these huge gardens, and there was nobody around us.
Wow. We have a guest.
They shifted them to other parts of the garden. So in other words, there was nobody around me. So I was basically in a secluded spot where I could do the work.
Right.
Because you see, the work goes deep underground. It doesn't go up on the ground. Because what you see when these activations come, they always send in the angels and the archangels, to literally work with me and the cosmic hierarchy. So I'm just the one that is orchestrating this, or I'm like a transmitter, if you like, like a satellite, and it moves through me. So I have to be open to do whatever needs to be done. But I am just this piece that is being used to do this. And you can literally see how they actually will seal off an area and they will just quietly take the people away. The people will not know that, you see, and they will feel good about themselves. And when I finished the work, it's so beautiful because we went into sort of a maze. They've got mazes everywhere. That garden is so huge. And people were laughing and they were happy and so on. So at a very subconscious level, they were tapping into the beauty of what has happened because it's a beautiful opening up of something which is so profound. For the first time, we have the opportunity of bringing the divine masculine and the divine feminine in balance again. And that is the gift of this time. And it's also the gift that we can now step into a co-creatorship where we can create a new world. We are in the process of moving into that world. We are in the process of creating something which is absolutely different from the 3D that we were already in. And that is moving in. Now, you can only tap into that if you are in a certain frequency band. So what happens is that these different type of octaves of being are simultaneously now working together. And when I do this energy work, I was actually realizing that as the 3D world is still there, all these other dimensions are opening up. It's a middle now of tuning into them. Like you would tune your radio in, like you would tune your internet and click that link like I'm now on your show. That is what we're doing. And the more aware we become, the more conscious we become, the more we be able to tap into that. It's to me, it shows you that anything is possible. And the mind will close you off at a certain stage and will say, this is impossible. Nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. But the thing is, you've got to get into your soul state because your soul is infinite. Your soul is cosmic. Your soul has no boundaries because your soul has been there from the beginning and it will be there ad infinitum. So in other words, we are the energy fields. Our body will dissolve at one stage into a higher light body state. It's so beautiful because, I was talking about Montsegur because we went to Montsegur, and before that I had to do a lot of energy clearing. I cleared the standing stones in Karnak, which was amazing because before we got to Karnak, it was actually Chakras, and then we went to Orleans, but it was Blau that we went to, and then from there we moved to Karnak. And before we got to Karnak, we're driving around on this road. I'm so grateful because I got introduced to Christina Kahnlund. She's from Sweden, lovely lady from Sweden, and she literally speaks French, which I can't. Well, at least I try to tune into it. I'm not very good at it. But the language of the heart is understood by everybody. I met the most beautiful people in France, and we understood each other at a level which is, again, it's energetic level. It's different. I felt at home in France. I felt like my soul had come, had a homecoming in a way I can't explain. But it's because I've been there for so many lifetimes before. But what happened is we driving out, and I said to her, "Now, what is this?" And I was tuning into the bardic order. You know, the bardic order. The Celts had always had a bardic order. They were the high order of the bards. They were the musicians. They were the ones that worked with sounds and with oracles, and the oracle of sound. And then they also worked with the idea that, you know, a lot of that history that we have forgotten about was always held in custody by the bardic order, the high bardic order. And as we drove, I just saw this massive city, this massive golden city, and what was once stood there. And that was the city of the bards. So we stopped there, and there's a restaurant there, and there's a golf course here, which is strange. I mean, there's a golf course in the middle of all these vineyards, and you want to know what the heck is this golf course doing there? And then there's a burnt-out chapel there. So I knew that was a chapel, you know, and there was a forest left over of a natural forest around it. I knew that was the place of the bards. And so we went. I went there, and I knew I had to do the energy work there and clear that. And the whole bardic order came and stood next to me, and we started opening up the energy fields there. We go back to the restaurant to have lunch, and I asked the waiter, I said to him, "What is this place called?" Because we didn't know, you know, the name of the place where we stopped. And he said, "Oh, this is called the place of the bards."
Don't you love that?
I laughed. And he looked like a bard, you know. I said to him, "You know what, you look like a bard." And he laughed. And he said, "Well, I sing." I said, "Well, you look like one." But it was so funny because when we went to Karnak, the whole Jolly Bardic order came with us, you know, to the standing stones. And they cleared us. And what is so amazing is, you know, with the France, they have their sacred places or their monuments or whatever, and the Jolly Highway goes right next to it, so you have no privacy. That's the way. No privacy, because you can't get into the place. It's cordoned off, you see. Right. So I had to do the energy work standing in the pavement, on the pavement in the burning sun. It was really hot. It was about 35 or something, and I had no shelter. But I started with the sentinel stones or whatever else, because you always have guardians and sentinels at these places who guard the places, and you ask permission to go into them, because otherwise you get blocked. They won't open the dimensions for you if you don't ask for permission. And I stood in the blazing sun, and you know, it's funny because I had my camera with me, and I was doing the energy work. And as my camera picked up the druids between the most mother stone that was there, the absolute mother stone that held the whole energy set together. And when I looked at my photographs afterwards, the druids were there. They came out. Wow. But they all stood in the circles around us, and they helped us to clear that whole. It is a massive gateway of the seventh sun that has opened up there, because the rest of Avalon has gone under the sea there. But there's still places of that came in. It was one of the greatest sort of like temple complexes, which belonged to the high priestesses of Avalon, and remember later the druids took over. And they only had male druids. But in the beginning, they were absolutely balanced. They had the female druids and they had the male druids. Right. But then the males feared the power of a woman, and that is how that sort of like all dissolved. But now I knew that linked to Montsegur. So we went to Montsegur, and I tell my students, the thing is, as we got out of the bus that took us there, because we were now in a group, I saw a dolmen next to the road I've never seen before. And I knew I had to clear that dolmen. So I went to it and blessed it and whatever else. And then we started climbing up to Montsegur. But it's interesting because where the monument is at Montsegur, from those that have been burnt there at the stake, I just knew that we had to stop there, and we sat down in a circle, and we had a beautiful meditation there. And I said to them, well, listen, just open your heart and your soul. And I say, we all have come here together again at Montsegur, because Montsegur used to be one of the greatest ancient mystery schools that were there from the beginning, from the time of Elysium and also the time of the Lion Kingdom and Avalon. So it is connected to all three of them. And before I came even to France, I was shown what was under Montsegur, a most amazing place, amazing mystery schools, but also temples were there underground, with underground connections to Agartha, the inner earth. In any case, so amazing. Each one of us went different ways. I said, if you feel like you need to go up to the castle, you climb to the castle. If you feel you need to go anywhere else on the ground, just go wherever you are led. Right. Well, I tell you what, so I was pulled to go to the side and around that. And I was told to stand between trees and undergrowth and shrub and so on. And as I stood there, suddenly I was singing. And the song was pouring through me. And I was repeating this because, you know, the ancients used vowels to open up the heart center. They used vowels for higher healing. They used chants and their own chants to bring in higher healing. And as I was singing this, I sang for about 20 minutes. I've never done this before. It just poured through me. And it went through the valley and it went over the meadows where there were white cows. You know, in the Pyrenees, they've got white cows. And they've got cowbells on. And they started ringing their bells. Like I was singing. And we're ringing and singing. And, you know, then all of nature started to dance. You know, the grass started to, there was some flowers, the wildflowers that were flowering, and the trees and weeds, they all sort of, everything started dancing. And, you know, at one stage I was looking, and there, the other group were at the bottom, and they were one was standing where the bales of hay were on the bottom, and they were singing, and there was some what were further down, and it was just this amazing thing, and it was like the whole dimension was shifting, and it was in the seventh dimensional state. I cannot explain it. And once I finished singing, I knew I had to go to the place where the monument was and had to see that we each do a prayer there, like a prayer of the heart of the gifting that we would like to give humankind in that we were there. And as I walked to that, I met Carol. Carol comes from the Channel Islands. And she said to me, I said to her, Carol, we've got to start this. We've got to bless this place. And we also got to bring our gifts of healing to this place, and also our gifts of what we as souls want to gift humanity with. And she said, you know, I've just opened up 2 dolmens at the bottom that were destroyed, and I had to knit them together again. So she, through her work in the Channel Islands, was doing the work at Montsegur. So she was knitting that together. And she said, you know what, I was also called to just sing. I said, yes. You see, we were singing the place alive. We were singing the world alive. We were singing the song of the earth again, and the cosmic songs that were healing, that higher healing. And then we went and we got our stones and we started. And then 4 of our group suddenly just got together, and each one had received a different gift. And then we stood around that and we gave our gifts to the altar and started singing the song that I just sung to you. And then one by one our group came and each one put their prayers and everything. And it's so funny because the tourists came up the mountain and they started having tears running down their cheeks listening to this. Some of them just stood there and they were crying, and it was just amazing. It was like everybody was standing on a sacred, sanctified spot. and they were touched deep into their hearts and soul. And the respect they showed was just amazing. It was just silence. And the amazing thing is, the minute that there were birds, there were herons, a flock of herons circling this whole place.
Wow. Wow.
And afterwards, everybody in the group shared, and everyone had a different experience.
Right. Right. Wow.
Everyone had a different experience, but it was the experience of their soul opening at a very high level there, which was different from anything, but it was the preparedness of a soul to be at this spot at this time in space, so that their own soul path could be ignited again. And that is the gift of humanity that is going on with each one of us. Wow. And the beautiful soul and heart opening.
You know, one of the points that I would like to make at this right now is that who you are, who those other people were, it's who you've all been all along.
Yes.
That's what awakening is finding that ancient self. Thank you very much. And being able to do what I've been calling the divine plan, your part as a team member. You all found your next project. And for those people who are saying, you know, they're not seeing any change, well, it's because you're looking at, you know, there's more to see. There's more levels to see, more of you to discover. And this is such a perfect example of how to discover your ancient self, and however you have to do that. It is a natural part of this process. I think that's probably a good message here, is that, you know, chances are, as you raise your vibration, you will discover. When they say discover who you really are, it's all those ancient beings and your part in this huge play called planet Earth. I mean, that is just so amazing. And when you start hanging out with people who are experiencing this, that alone, I know, has raised my vibration and has clicked in memories. And that's how it happens, is you start remembering, and there's little clues all over, because the universe wants you to remember. And so they're passing them out. You just have to be aware, and you are a master at that. And what, okay, for people who have not yet gotten to that memory, okay, can you explain what you've just been through and what you've just done is going to help people who have yet to remember?
All right. But what happens is that we're working with heart energies here. And heart energies are directly connected to the consciousness. You know, you cannot take the soul out of anything. You know, for a long time, humanity has tried to be totally in the mind. You know, they tried to fix everything with the mind, and then to put neat little labels on everything, you know, and put people into neat little boxes, you know, that were all like labeled. And what happened is that in the process, they forgot that everything has got soul. Even plants have got soul. Even rocks have got soul. Even everything has got a soul. That's why, you know, I taught my students now, because we also did it at Rana Chateau, at the plateau. We opened up a massive energy center there. And what I did, as we walked up to go to this plateau, I was showing them, I said, you know what, if you actually stand and you respect nature, and you say to that, and there's always keepers and guardians in these places, and you call them in and you say, can I please proceed? Can I enter your domain? They will open that up for you. And as I was asking permission, and I tell you what, I've never reached a spot in the earth where I had to give keys and codes, like in France. Every time I came to bed, the keys and codes were already given to me in Africa. I had to give those keys and codes every single time. And I realized it's because people abused energies there at a very, very deep level at other times, you see. So they closed these places down. They literally put the lid on them. And they said that mankind will not access these places until they reached a consciousness level where they would be able to access it again. We are reaching that state now. But what they do is they read your intent. They read your heart. They read what is it that you're actually coming to do. If you come in there and you want to do things there that you're not supposed to do there, they will block you out of there and you won't see for seeing. You will literally see not what they're not supposed to see. But the minute that you actually exit and they read your intent and they give you permission to proceed, everything changes. And you know, I was so happy because I had my students next to me and I showed them how. And they said, but the whole mountain is shifting. And they suddenly saw things they did not see before. And I said to them, now take that as a lesson. There are so many dimensions that exist at the very same time, that each one is in a different frequency band. And if you are closed off here, you cannot see that. But when you start getting conscious and you work with them and your intent is pure, you will see a different world. It's the same world, but you are tuned into a different frequency band. Now you suddenly see what you couldn't see before. You're still the same. The earth is still the same. But now you're moving into a different frequency band and suddenly everything shifts. It shifts. The whole landscape shifts. Everything shifts because you have shifted.
Okay, we need to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Hang on, folks.
You know, we've all worked towards this at some stage, you know, in our lifetimes and come together now. And you know, I was shown this vision of a rainbow people coming together, the rainbow tribes coming together. And it's busy weaving, these strands are busy interweaving, the energy strands. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing that's happening to planet Earth. You know, I get excited about it, and you know, we mustn't look at everything else. You know, the muck and the dirt. You can choose what you want to see. You can choose to see all the muck and the dirt and whatever else, and get depressed about it, and stay in the 3D world and get stuck in that 3D stuff. Or you can choose to see what is there but you can tune into so many levels of dimensions at the moment because the veils of amnesia are lifting. That's where we're the beauty of this time.
Right. And for someone who is just beginning to learn, to open up and to just, you know, I don't even know if people know what ancient selves are.
You know, the ancient self is your soul self. It's the soul that you are at deep level. You know, when you were born as a soul, God created you as a soul. And the soul is infinitely there. It's never, ever, ever not there. And then you must remember that when you incarnate on planet Earth, only a very tiny fraction of your soul incarnates. You've got 12 soul fires or flames. In other words, there might be that 2 incarnates, that's your twin flame, or it might be that you, sometimes it's 3, you know, and most of the times it will not be more than 3 of your soul that comes incarnated. But it could be that while you are in incarnations, like with me now, more soul times merge with you, like your higher self or your oversoul, to help you with the work that you need to do. So that is possible because you have parallel existences in soul in the different galaxies, your galaxy of origin, where you come from. And also your soul is working on multiple levels elsewhere. And one part of your soul always stays with the divine source. In other words, it stays with your creator God because it can never be separated from it. And you know, when we bought into the illusion of separateness, it was because we created that separateness. You know, we all have transmitter channels. We have transmitter channels When I open up our transmitter channels, the higher stellar gateway transmitters channels, we have that cosmic link via our soul star. And our soul star is directly linked to our soul and heart connection. Because when you die, the last cord, the silver cord, attaches to your heart. And that's the last thing that is cut when the soul leaves the body. So that is why the heart is directly connected to the soul. But now, if what they did is in Atlantis, they cut this off. They cut off this transmitter here. They literally closed you down from here to this so that you couldn't connect your lower chakras, your lower energy centers with the higher energy centers. So you felt an intense separation from God. You felt that you were just here like an alien, planted on planet Earth, because now suddenly you couldn't open up the transmitter channel anymore. So what is happening at this time is that when we work on our throat chakras here, the chakra is very much blocked, because I was actually shown so many times in the energy work that I did that the unspeakable happened to so many of us. The trauma was so great. You can imagine it, like, say, for instance, in southern France, where the Qatars were burnt, like by the thousands. Can you imagine the trauma that is sitting there? And it's not only the souls that are traumatized. I was actually shown where I went to these places and I had to clear the energy of what happened to them in that stage and the persecutions that happened there. That the souls that were burnt were not just traumatized, but the ones that were burning them would do it. You've got to reach a certain stage of insanity to be able to do that to a human being in any form. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. Because you're shutting down your heart center at some stage, that you can be able to do things like what happened there. And I was shown how these lost souls were them as well. The ones that actually were the perpetrators were just as much lost as the ones that went through all the trauma. Yes. So you see how if you hurt somebody, you hurt yourself. It's now when it works both ways. You cannot hurt another human being without hurting yourself. Right. And as I was clearing up those energy lines, I realized that all needed to be lifted. The trauma needed to be lifted off planet Earth. It needed to be lifted off the whole landscape, and the whole of the earth needed to be opened up in order for our communication centers here to open up. Not just of the earth, but also that we can release the trauma of that and understand that we are all sons and daughters of God. We all have our unique place on planet Earth. And the more conscious we become of that, and the more we actually open our communication with the cosmos again, the more we can not feel separateness, because we are everything and everything is us. There is no difference. We can never be separated from the energy of God and Goddess. We are all one single creation. We are all one single soul. And you can imagine that in moments where you connect to the soul and you are that, you realize that the physical body is but an illusion. Right. It is a vessel. It's a vessel that you take on for a very short, it's actually an eye wink in eternity that you are here on planet Earth. An eye wink in eternity. And the more I think about it, the less serious I become about life itself. Because we create
There's a lot of that going on in the USA right now.
You can look at all the bad things that happened, and you can look at when you get. I got somebody moaning about Donald Trump this morning in South Africa, and I thought to myself, that he's just an embodied soul for one moment in space at time. What the heck are you getting yourself in a state of?
I'm just not going to say anything right now.
But bless the poor man. At least he's trying something. But I don't know him from Adam, so I wouldn't know.
I don't know.
And I'm not in your country, so I could say it. I mean, I'll praise, well, whatever. But it takes us, it takes guts to actually stand for president. So I will give him, give him the credit for that.
Hey, the universe is big. There's lots of parts to be played. Oh.
And you know what I found in France, and I had to I actually had to actually heal my own soul in France because of those incarnations where that happened to me.
Right.
And one of them that I had to clear was Marie Antoinette, because I always knew I had been involved in the French Revolution. I always knew I had my head chopped off, So when the first thing that I got to Paris for, I had to clear the energies of a revolution there. And it was so interesting is that when I started clearing that, what happened is with these souls that had their head chops off, is they were severely traumatized too, because as I was releasing them, the heads came first and then the bodies afterwards. The first time I've ever done energy work where that happened. But it also, what happened is that Marie Antoinette actually appeared to me and she said, "Thank you, because I've always lived in a golden cage all my life. I was never free."
Wow.
And to me, that has become so symbolic that we sometimes just get stuck in a beautiful cage. And the cage is that of our own making most of the time. Because we want to, people try to put us in boxes where we don't belong to. We forget that we are soul. We eventually become disassociated from ourselves. We become separated from God, become separated from ourselves, become alienated from ourselves. That's how pain and depression start. Mm-hmm. And once we actually realized how much of the illusion it is, and that we can actually break free of that cage anytime. It's like when a canary is in a cage and you open the door, and it still sits in the cage because it doesn't realize the door is open. That is what is happening to humanity now, is that we can all actually fly free. Once we find the door and we can fly through that, we fly free. And I was actually shown that at the end of my journey, I was shown that there's this beautiful golden door opening up, a beautiful portal coming up, and they said, "Do you want to step over this portal?" And I said, "Yes." And I walked over it, and these golden doors closed behind me, and they said, "That's the old world. It's gone. Now the new world has begun." Oh. And to me, that's the most beautiful vision that I want to share with you. Oh. Do you really want to get stuck in the 3D? I don't think so. Yeah. We can now step through that door, because the door has opened up for humanity now. The door has opened up for us, where we can connect cosmically again. We can connect to our own souls, and we can find our wings again and fly. And the only way we're going to fly is by actually using our wings to fly. And then we can fly free. We can fly wherever we want to, because we can now co-create in ways we couldn't before. And you can't look at the president of your country to go and create your life for you. The onus lies on you to do your own thing. You have to create the life that you would like to live in at the moment. That is the gift to humanity at the time. And in the end, you can't blame anybody for your circumstances. You have to take responsibility for your own life and what you create in that life.
I just said to somebody the other day, I said, "Dang it, now that blame is not an option, I'm going to have to take total responsibility for this."
You have to take responsibility. You can't point fingers anymore and say, "Well, this is that because that one did that. That is why I'm in this mess." No.
No. Oh my goodness. And another really good point is for people who are just awakening or just looking kind of at more, that there must be more. One of the things that is repeated over and over again is that you simply need to ask.
Exactly. If you ask, you don't get anything. You know, I never do. You know, every morning I actually ask first. You know, I ask for help. And whenever I get into anything, I always ask for help. Because, you know, the whole cosmos is gathered here at the moment. We have all the help that we need. But if we don't ask, then nothing will be given to us. Because they cannot intervene with our free will and choice. And we always have a free will, and we have a choice about everything. We have a choice how we react to things. We have a choice of how we conduct our lives. And also we have choice in every single moment of what we want to create in our lives. And I just want to get back to the thing that was came to me this morning as guidance, is to be very careful what you think.
Yeah.
If you're not in control of what you think, then what you think will manifest in your life almost instantaneously now. So, you know, what I do is when I start thinking, you know, and I go on, you know, you get into this, and then you get like, you get sucked into this quagmire because you think the same or thought over and over again. And, you know, especially if you're blaming yourself and if you whatever. So what I do is I stop the bus right there and say, no, I'm not thinking that anymore. And I call in Archangel Jophiel and Archangel Christine, and I say, please clear my thoughts and clear my mind. Clear the space in and around me. And then I call the violet flame, because we can call in Archangel Zadkiel, Archangel Amethyst, and Saint Germain and Lady Portia to use that flame to just transmute negative energy into positive energy again. It's very important, because if we always think, you know, the worst, we're going to create the worst in our lives. If we need to think now constantly, what is it that I want to create in life? And a very good thing is just to sit down and write down what you do want in your life. What do you want to create in your life? And journal it. I keep a journal every single day of my life. And I write down all my dreams, my aspirations, that which I want to become, and whatever happened to me in my life. Because I'm realizing that every moment now I am creating something.
Right.
And it's up to me what I want to create in my life. And also, so often we blame other people for what happened, or we blame circumstances, but we attract them because we subconsciously, our thoughts are, our thoughts are like radio stations. They broadcast to the whole universe what we want to put out there. Mm-hmm. And exactly what we put out there will come reflected back to us in something or other. And I'm getting very careful now with that, because I'm realizing that I have to learn mastery here on the planet. That's why we are all here, to learn mastery. This is the toughest master school that there is in the whole of the cosmos. Yes. Our souls knew very well what they were getting themselves into when they incarnated on Earth, because you signed a soul contract. And all the souls that you meet along the way are actually the ones that you are meant to meet along the way. And not all of them are going to be nice to you. There's a lot of you that are going to get challenged on you. But they did that out of love. They said, I will meet you in this lifetime so that I can really challenge you on that, but I do it with great love. Once we start seeing that, everything changes. Right. We start thanking that soul for the challenge. And the beauty of it all is that when we look back, we see how we have grown through the challenges.
Right. Right.
So that's the greatest thing, the greatest gifts that they give us is often that we get to the stage where we say, thank you, I love you.
Well, Judith, I hope you can come back in again here soon. Every time you come on here, you know, I mean, I can feel what you were doing. I can visualize what you're doing, and it makes me feel like I am having, you know, I have connected to that energy, and of course I've connected with your energy, and I'm like a little tag along.
You have your own beautiful energy that you're broadcasting into the life. Look at that. You're doing your own show now, and the heart energy is just flowing through you. Isn't that amazing?
It is. It is. And I have every one of my guests and everyone who watches this show to thank, because that energy just keeps moving around the globe, because all my guests are from all over the world, and we are talking about dimensions that not everybody is experiencing yet. And I think it's so important that people just get to hear how this sounds, what it's like. I want people to see that this is who we really are. This is real to us. This is who we are and what we do. And it's very natural. And this whole awakening and remembering who you are is very natural. And chances are it's going to happen to you eventually. And whatever tools that you can find or that are given to you, because once you ask for tools for remembrance, then people will come into your life, just as Judith has come into my life and has helped me along the way. And even to the point where we realize that we're working together on projects on different dimensions. That is what just fills me, and that is the energy that I am now, and that is what is being spread around the world, and it's coming through me, just like you said. I'm just a vessel for it. I am honored to have this energy coming from me and to share it, and to be seen with it, and to have people, there are so many people who recognize it, but they don't even realize it's that energy. They have this immediate connection, or it lights them up or something, and it's that energy that they're connecting with, and it is an honor, an absolute honor to be in this position. So thank you very much. Do any of our guests, I want to thank our guests for coming. We don't often have guests, and it's really awesome that you guys joined us, and I hope you have enjoyed this. Do you have anything you'd like to say to Judith before we close out here?
One thing I would like to tell you is I have had Archangel Michael talk to me all the time. We had discussions, and he has said exactly what Judith said. He would come to me sometimes and say, well, you didn't ask. And I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. And why I'm doing what I'm doing is because he told me I had to heal.
That's wonderful. Right. That is exactly why you are a transmitter. And when the more we open to that, the more we're getting used as that. And I thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, my grandfather was Basque from the Pyrenees, and he was an orphan raised in a monk monastery, and came to Arizona where I'm at now.
Wow.
So I'm connected to that area. And my wife and I both have memories of Atlantis.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on. She was basically told to destroy the crystal, and I was diving in the water trying to stop it from disintegrating. But I couldn't. Other than that, we get along, and I'm in the process of making drums because I like drum circles. I was a American Native Indian on one of my past lives, and the drum circle is important, and the drums are important. I made a big one, and I was playing it, and my wife just went away. I mean, she just left her body and went away. And I'm looking at her, and I'm like, okay, I better stop now. and
the drums are very important because we're working with sound energies now, sound frequency energies.
Exactly. That's what Michael told me. He said the drums were important to my development. And I'm like, okay. I'll go.
I come from Africa, and we have the drums talking. And I remember that as a child, It was beautiful because we were living on a sort of very mountainous area, and you could at night times, with the echoes coming up, the drums would talk because they would play the drums and sing, the whole night through. And I just fell asleep with that, but it always was like calming to me. And when you actually hear people the African people have a way that if they play instrument, everything talks. Their whole body goes with it. They sing and they talk and everything moves. And you can see how they actually become the sound that they are producing. And that is what one is one becomes as one with the sound. You are busy reverberating to the song of the earth in a different way, and you are helping that the song awakes now. Because that is what I was doing in France. I was singing the earth awake again. Wow. And Karina, who's there, she does the drumming. She drummed, that day when we were at Run de Chateau at Abadou. So she does drumming as well. And it was beautiful how these ladies were drumming that and opening up the earth in this way. Beautiful.
Well, that's mine. About 24 inches. First drum I ever made. And I was channeling the whole time I was making it.
Wow.
From my life as an Apache. And I've been to the High Tribal Council, and they gave me my pipe back.
Wow.
I was told at one time my name was Black Elk of the Oglala Sioux. It's a wind drum. It was blowing wind the whole time I made it, and it has a beautiful sound to it. And I took it to a place where they have instruments, showed it to the drum master, and he goes, "Oh, you made this?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he hit it with a beater, and the entire wall 50 feet away of instruments rattled. Wow. He goes, "Oh my." Wow. So it really is, it is powerful. My wife was growing up in Venezuela, and she has memories of the Maya. And she is very intuitive and a special person. She's able to see more dimensions than myself. And why Michael talks to me and not her all the time, I don't know. But I'm sure you're aware, he has a quirky sense of humor.
But you're doing sterling work with him.
I asked him one day, and he said that my wife was a child of the earth, and I was a child of God. And I was talking to someone else, I think it was Metatron one day, and he looked at me and he said, he told me something, and at the end he says, "You are the child of Michael." And I'm like, okay. I said, he gets mad at me and goes away for a while, and then he comes back, and I'm like, okay, thank you. And he goes, "I'm always there, you just don't know it." I have a theory that the archangels were much more powerful at one time, and that at the time of the fall, they too were knocked down a few notches, and sparks of them came to earth and came into us. And so each archangel, there are sparks of them in different people on earth, where you are literally part of them. And someday they will be reunited and be who they are again, as powerful as they used to be. And I don't want to use powerful in the terms of power, but more enlightened and closer to God. And I really feel this. I've had friends tell me, "Oh, I'm Mary Magdalene, I'm this, I'm that." I don't dispute that, because I think there's sparks of them. I looked at them and said, think about it. If Jesus did not die and had children, by now there's hundreds of thousands of relatives of him running around who are actually blood relatives. And how many are spirit relatives? There's so many. So it doesn't surprise me. And when I work doing Reiki and stuff, I don't even know people most of the time. I go to Reiki shares where people just show up. And you get everything from little children to old people. And, well, I say old people, I'm old. But every time you work on someone, the key is you find something about that person that you can love.
Yes.
And then you just let it flow.
We all have core love at there's not one person who's not love at the core of their being. The soul is love.
And Michael we work together, my wife and I, and when we combine our energies, Michael said, alone you're powerful. Together, nothing can beat you. And so when we have a particularly nasty thing we're pulling out of someone, we'll join hands. And then my wife has the ability to see the energies inside people, and I have the ability to pull them out.
Oh, nice.
So she told me where it's going, and I'll reach in and grab it and yank it out.
Nice.
And so as a team, not only are we more powerful, but we're more effective. And I asked Michael, I said, how come I can't do what she does? And he goes, we never put all the gifts in one person.
Right.
And
That's why you the man and the woman, and you need them to combine in order to have that greater power. You see, at humanity, we've forgotten that.
well, she looks at me and says, oh my, you're blue. And my whole face goes blue. My hair goes deep ocean blue. And she's like, she starts laughing hysterically. You're blue. I'm like, oh, sorry. Don't mean to. And we think it's just a hilarious thing that we go through. It's like, oh God, am I blue again? Okay.
That's cute.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It's amazing. Yeah.
I just, I had to tell you because it really is something that changed my life. I was a construction person for years. And I went and listened to a clairvoyant medium and Reiki master one day because I wanted to find out how to help my children. I have 2 daughters. One of them seen dead people since she was born, and the other one is a extreme empath, like my wife, me. And I went there because my daughters were actually scared from some of the things they were seeing, and I didn't know how to help them. And I went to this guy and I said, what can I do? And he goes, where do you think they got it from? I'm like, I don't know. And he goes, really? And that's when I sat there and went, oh. And he goes, yeah. He says, look at your heart chakra. He goes, it's kind of like, and he goes, you need to heal. You're a healer. And I'm like, okay. Years later, after studying and actually seeing energy one day when I was working on someone, I decided that, I need to listen when the universe talks to me. I need to listen and do what it says. And it's not over. We're just starting a new phase. I just married my wife a year ago, and we're working into one, being together, but also working on how to work together with other people and helping them. I mean, I can hold space while she works on someone. And I'm not talking just holding space in a room. I'm talking interdimensionally holding space so that other dimensions, other beings cannot see or get to this person that we're working on, because that's part of the problem.
Yeah, that's very important.
Difficult. It's people don't realize how hard holding space can be. And I thought it was, I actually thought I wasn't contributing. And she's like, are you kidding? It's huge that you can do that. Okay. Because I'm so used to putting hands on. stuff, and it's a new experience. That's the best way I can put it. Everything's a new experience, and I watch Judith posts all the time because I can relate to a lot of them. You know, we know about visions of earthquakes, visions of water, and it concerns us, but then we have to remind ourselves that the concept of time and when things are going to happen don't apply. This could be 100 years from now. It could be 1,000 years from now. And so what we're seeing isn't necessarily imminent.
Yeah.
Michael seems to think there's an urgency to it, but I don't see it. And it might just be the past. It could be the future. We don't know. Unfortunately, if I could connect to my higher self on a regular basis more often, I'd probably know that. But Blue Boy don't show up all the time. I was actually a warrior. There was a conflict, and I was on the wrong side. And I was put in a circle with angels surrounding us. And one angel stepped in, and I fought them to the death. I lost. They broke my neck. And turned out that angel that killed me was my wife.
She had a license to do it too.
You know, Michael, I've been trying to figure this out for a long time, and Michael the other day finally told me, he goes, "You have been forgiven." So whatever.
Yeah, we have everything. We beat everything. Saints and sinners and whatever else.
And he goes, "You've been forgiven. You know, whatever you did back then's over because of what you've done since." And the interesting thing is, I was a warrior back then. I was a blue warrior. Now he says you have become a strong. I was a blue knight back then. He goes, you have become a strong warrior. And I have big white fluffy wings. My wife has metallic wings that kind of go like that when she opens them. I actually go around to several people and I've opened their wings for them. It's one of the things I do. And they sit there and go, oh my. They actually feel them. And it's one of those things you never forget because it's good. It's like when you heal someone. And I don't want to use the word heal. When I facilitate them healing themselves, it's a experience. And it's that way when you open their wings, because all of a sudden they realize part of them they had never seen before. And it's a nice experience. That the actual woman that was teaching me clairvoyance and mediumship, I opened her wings one night at the class, and she's like, "Oh my!" She goes, "My wings are open." I'm like, "Yeah, they've been there all along." And and I don't even know how I do it. TP. And this just happened. I mean, I knew nothing about this stuff. And I was channeling one day at the class, and I walked up to this teepee, and there was a guard out front, and he let me in, and all of these old chiefs were around a fire, and there was a woman to my right, who later I found out who she was. She was a white buffalo calf woman. But Tecumseh was directly opposite of me, and then all the other major chiefs were around. And Tecumseh got up and walked over and handed me my pipe back, which means I'm supposed to communicate and pass this message on. The old man chief to my left was my wife. And she looked at me and she goes, "Testicles again?" And she was just shaking her head. She was just, come on. and the girl to my right, who's the white buffalo calf woman, is a friend of my wife's who I'm friends with. And she's the one that came to me because I said, who was I? I mean, they hand me this pipe and all this. Why do I deserve this? And who am I? And she said, she's the one that came to me and said, "You are Black Elk." Well, and that's when I looked up Black Elk, and he died before I was born. He was a medicine man of the Sioux, and a healer. And he was at
bury myself at Wounded Knee.
Wounded Knee is where he was.
That's right. That great tragedy of the Indian people, of the Native American people, was bury my heart at Wounded Knee. It's a great tragedy there, and it's one of the places that needs to be cleared in America very, very badly.
Yes.
Bury my heart at Wounded Knee. And if that comes through for you, that means that you are called to bring that in. Because I'm often given the vision of a rainbow. I was given about 2 years ago, the vision of the rainbow people gathering at a certain sort of like a place in the mountains in America. And because a lot of the work that I'm doing now pertains to America. And you must remember that the first people who walked the earth were redskins. They were red. They had copper skins. They were copper-skinned people, and so the soul of the earth is very much connected to a certain. I don't say it's a tribal consciousness, if I can say that, because there were 12 tribes in the beginning, who were attached to the 12 crystal pyramid temples, who were the cosmic rays, as in 12. And through that, the American Indian people, the native people, I know that's what you call them today, it's very interesting that they were the ones who hold a certain custodianship over keys and codes for the humankind in a way that differs from the other tribes and the other people. As I say, if we look at originally they were more colors. The colors we see now are limited. As I'm working with energy fields, more colors come up that we can't see with the naked eye, but they do exist. They'd existed on certain rays. And what's happening now is that in a sense, they were the carriers of that. So a lot of souls who originally there incarnated again, and they might not be like a part of the Native American Indians, but their soul is still of the same tribe or the same soul tribe that incarnated at the time. So when all of this happened in Americas, as I almost seeing it, there came a swing in the consciousness there when of course the colonization started from the West, from Europe, etc., coming over to America. And I remember that a few years ago when I was still in the library, I was very much led to the Native American Indians and started reading, their history and so on. And I was led to Black Elk's history with that coming to. It's interesting that he comes up now. But I felt a great connection to the people that were actually involved with that, because I felt that there was immense trauma in the soil and in the landscape and whatever else. And then I read the whole story of burying my heart. It's at Wounded Knee and what happened there. And it's very interesting. I completely forgot about that. But when I was in France, that actually came up again. And Sheila, there's the interconnectedness yet. that I felt that there was a deep pain, a deep sort of like a collective trauma in America, which I think buried my heart at Wounded Knee, maybe sort of epitomizes at a certain level, which I can't explain. I'm just now saying what I'm picking up. But I felt that needed to be in a sense like brought into healing again, and brought into the open again, and brought like a festering wound, that you sometimes have to cut open to the core, and you need to get that muck out in order for it to be healed at a very deep level. And at the moment, the keys and codes that are held in certain areas in America, of what I was tuning in already, a few years ago, they are definitely linked to a very sense of sacredness. And it's so interesting because during that, before I went to France, I was actually sort of tuning into that sacredness of a land that was there with the tribal people of what I'm talking about now. And I was living in New York, of all places. I have never been to New York, so I won't know. But suddenly, I was actually sort of reminded that there was sacred lands that was held in that area. I didn't know about that, but that is what I was told. And then I was shown the Statue of Liberty, and I thought to myself, now what the heck has the Statue of Liberty got to do with sacred lands? And it's so interesting because I just mentioned it to a friend of mine, and she said, but you know what? It was tribal land that they built this Statue of Liberty on. And I said, okay, now I understand. Because that was one of the most sacred places of a tribal people of the Americas, was where the Statue of Liberty now stands on.
Wow.
Sorry? Yeah, and I was actually shown that whatever is there in certain areas of America that needs to be cleared up, it's definitely the woundedness, the wounds in the soul of the people, but also the soul of the land. And it will come in the next 2 years, that healing will come in a different ways. So if everybody is called then in a certain manner to start getting that consciousness rising, to start getting that open up for the dimensions to come in again, it will bring those sacred keys and things back in a way that we can't understand at the moment. But it's definitely all linked up in a beautiful way. And so that calling will come now. In many people and in a different ways, and eventually they will all interconnect and it will all be a weaving of strands. But there is immense work that is waiting in America now to bring that into the fore and to clear that what needs to be done. And they are working on that. It's definitely there's many of the old souls that are helping. The ancient ones are helping. So it is busy moving into that, and it is busy putting all the strands together. So to me, when I look at your art, for instance, at the back of you, Sheila, I can see how your art is channeling that, and it's almost like a breakthrough that will happen in the soul of the collective, and it will bring in a beautiful shift and a healing of that very deeply. And the elders are holding that. They're almost like the ancient ones. I always feel are the elder brothers and sisters, and they're guiding us into this, and they're bringing us into that wholeness again. And it's definitely linking up in a beautiful way there.
Wow. Well, we probably should close this down. Thank you, Judith, for your time. Thank you for being a guest. This was like new and exciting to have guests join us, and I just hope we can have you back here real soon, and and keep this ancient energy alive and moving here in my Heart Talks family. I want to just keep moving this vibration all across the world. I want these shows to continue to help raise the vibration for all of us, and that we can all find our ancient selves and get into these projects, these jobs, these things that we have been sent to do all along. So thank you very much, and I love you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure meeting both of you and talking to you. I just happened to be walking by the computer and saw that, and I said, let's see if this works. And all of a sudden it's like, boom, oh, I'm here. Okay. It was surprising to say.
Yeah, well, nothing happens by accident. All happens by great design.
That's right.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
All right, everyone.
Take care.
For joining us.
Namaste.
From my heart to yours. Namaste.
Namaste. Bye-bye.